So, Dylan, what we're going to talk about is the actual teachings of the Buddha. And the Buddha said that he only teaches one thing, dukkha, dukkha nirodha. What this actually infers is that he does not teach magical powers, airy fairy, metaphors, chakras, uh, flying through the air. He does not teach rebirth, reincarnation, and all of those kind of things that people have no evidence of. And when you have no evidence of something, we can pretty well classify it as being not real because you've got no evidence. We put that into the world of belief. And what the Buddha is teaching is let's come out of our beliefs because our belief system is where almost all of the dukkha comes from. Okay, another example or a way of talking about it is that we have rules, we have ways of doing things, we have standards, we have ideals, we have things about the way that they should be. In the Buddha language, in Pali, this is called Silabbata Paramasa. Silabbata Paramasa is one of the most primary fetters, is that we think that things should be the way that I have been told that they should be, rather than the way that they actually are. And so when we see reality, we almost always put it through the filter of how it should be, and either bend reality to fit our woulds and our shoulds and our coulds, or we dislike reality because it doesn't fit into the model that we've been given and made up, the standards that we hold. And so one of the things that we have to do in order to come out of dukkha is stop judging things, stop setting it according to standards, and start judging it in a more realistic way. Another one would be what we like and what we want. And generally, we get our rules from what we like. If we like it, then we want it, and if we want it, it must be good. And if I don't like it, it must be bad. And the reality is that reality is just real. And you're the one who is adding the likes and dislikes to that. And that's where the suffering comes from, is because we ignorantly like and not like, as opposed to just seeing things the way that they are. Because if you see things the way that they are with proper discretion, only then can you do something about it, rather than just staying in the state of not liking it and wanting it and whatnot. So, this basic teaching of the Buddha, of dukkha, dukkha nirodha, can also be said in very simple ways in many, many different contexts. It's a very, very simple teaching. The entire teaching can always be done in a one-liner. One of my favorite one-liners is, "Don't worry, be happy." It's in a song. Don't worry, be happy. Okay? Because our worry is almost always worrying about something that's not real. When we stop worrying, we can see reality as it is and just accept it and be happy with the way things actually are. Another way of saying it, that Goenka's way of saying it, is when the mind wanders away from the breath, never mind, start again. When you fall down, never mind, pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and start all over again. Don't lay on the ground with your face in the mud, not liking it. Get up. Change your mind. The entire teaching of the Buddha, dukkha, dukkha nirodha, is a change model. When you can see the dukkha, you can change it so that it's not dukkha anymore. So you've heard of the Four Noble Truths. The first noble truth is, in fact, the Four Noble Truths is an unpacking of this one statement that the Buddha made, dukkha, dukkha nirodha. And the first point, the first item on the Four Noble Truths is that dissatisfaction actually exists. We don't need to call it suffering. We miss the point when we call it suffering, because every little dissatisfaction you have, every little dissatisfaction that you have is dissatisfaction. You're either dissatisfied or you're satisfied. So, this, by the way, a lot of people think that the life itself is dissatisfying. I've even heard the statement that life is shit and then you die. Another way of saying it is life sucks. But a better way of saying it is life sucks when you suck on things. If you stop sucking on things, then doesn't suck. That it's not life that sucks, it's you're that's doing the sucking. And when we stop sucking, everything is okay. But the point is that we suck ignorantly. This is the second noble truth. What is the cause of dukkha? Because we almost always make the mistake that dissatisfaction comes from out there. No, dissatisfaction is what you do with what comes from out there. The dissatisfaction is I like it or I don't like it. And all of that dissatisfaction of liking and not liking. For instance, if I like it, I want it. If I want it, I got to have it. If I got to have it, that means I'm not good enough without it. And so liking something is dangerous because you can fall into dissatisfaction easily. Also, not liking. Have you ever heard of the word moha, lobha, dosa?
No, I haven't.
Okay, lobha, moha, dosa are actually the Pali words that describe the second noble truth. Lobha is actually desire, wanting things. The other two are not liking, ill will. So you hear it as greed and ill will. Greed, ill will, and ignorance. Have you heard that trio? Greed, ill will, and ignorance as the cause of suffering.
No, I haven't heard that before.
All right. So the big one is ignorance. You can like something wisely. You can dislike something wisely, but almost always we like and dislike ignorantly. Not ignorantly in the sense of wise ignorance, but in the sense of delusion. We think we know how it ought to be, and so we don't like it because it doesn't meet our standards. And so most liking and not liking is ignorant, and that's why we have dissatisfaction. But if we change that, then we can be in a state of satisfaction. That's the third noble truth, is that we can be in a state of satisfaction. And yet people will practice meditation for an hour a day, 2 hours a day, 3 hours a day, year after year after year after year, and they never come out of their dissatisfaction. They note and they yoga and they ponder and they fart and they do all kinds of stuff, but they wind up still being in dissatisfaction, hoping somehow that their meditation practice will eventually get them out of dukkha. It's almost as if after 100,000 hours of meditation, the karma machine's going to waltz in, hit you with some Shaktipat, and then you feel good. And you could have been feeling good all along for that 100,000 hours. You didn't have to wait by sitting on the floor hoping for the bell to ring. Hoping for something to happen, you got to make it happen. And so this is what the Eightfold Noble Path is really all about. And the way that we teach it is a little bit at a time, in the sense that we have to know that the important thing is looking. You have to see what's going on. You have to see what's going on inside your mind, the thoughts, the attitudes that you have mentally. You have to see your feelings. You have to see the body and its postures and its positions and its comforts and its discomforts, its tensions and its relaxations. So you have the body, the feeling, the mental objects, and the mind states. This is called the Satipatthana. Have you ever heard of that word? It's in the book someplace. The 4 foundations of mindfulness, and these are ways of looking at who you are in 4 different aspects. Who you are in the body, who you are in your feelings, who you are in your attitudes, and who you are in your thoughts. And the place to start is with all 4 of them. Any one of them that comes up is worth paying attention to look. All right? Now, The important point, the second in line, is the word sati. It's actually mistranslated as mindfulness. Surely you've heard the word mindfulness by now.
Yeah.
Okay. Mindfulness is a bad translation of the word in the Pali sati, which basically means several things. I'll give you several different definitions so you can begin to understand it. One is to remember. A second one is to wake up and be in the present moment. Wakey, wakey, look at what's going on. Come back to where we are. Come back to reality. Come back to this present moment here now. That way, we can begin to investigate. We can look at what's happening right here, right now, rather than what happened last month, last year, 10 years from now, etc. Most people live in the past and the future. But the middle path is right here, right now. And so we have to start to remember to be here now. If you can be here now, then you can investigate what's happening right here, right now. If you can see what's happening right here, right now, now you have a choice, a chance to make a change to what's happening right here, right now. Now, we're not talking about making a change to the voting registration or to the laws or to the way traffic operates or that kid down the block. We're not talking about changing things on the outside. We're talking about making changes inside of your mind-body complex. Making changes inside the body, making changes inside your feelings, making changes inside your attitude, and making changes inside your thoughts. So this is actually the third. Now, when you have right view, right sati, and right effort to make a change, these three things run and circle around each other over and over and over again. We have to practice so that they build up as skills, to begin to have the skill of remembering, to begin to have the skill of really looking at what's going on in the sense of, is this dukkha or is this not? Am I satisfied right now or am I not? And almost always you're going to be dissatisfied, so now we need to make a change to become satisfied. Another word to use would be to gladden the mind, to brighten the mind, to change your attitude from the attitude of, oh, it's a problem, into, I got this wired. We begin to change our attitude by changing our thoughts, by gladdening the mind. And so when you have a thought of, what's this? The answer to that is, oh, I don't need that right now. I'm happy and I'm satisfied already. And so we need to start changing the thoughts that we have from the unwholesome thoughts into the wholesome thoughts. If we keep changing our unwholesome thoughts into wholesome thoughts, we begin also to change our attitude from an unwholesome victim's attitude into a wholesome winner's attitude, so that you become in charge of your life. When you do that over and over again and begin to change your attitude, then we can begin to change the feelings. And so the first thing that we're going to work with is the feeling of being safe. Now, the important thing is you've got to have the body in a safe place. We need to be in seclusion. We need to be away from other people. This is what the meditation issue is all about, is to getting into seclusion. Go to the forest. Go to an empty hut. Go to a tree and sit under the tree. Go to an empty pile of straw. And what do Westerners do? They go to a meditation hall where there's a whole bunch of competition. They may all be wearing white, but they fart and they cough and they giggle and they do all kinds of stuff, and a lot of the people don't like it because they're not secluded. They're in a retreat. And so we need to get in seclusion. And when we're in seclusion, then we can begin to see what's happening within. What do I mean within? The kind of thoughts that we have, the kind of attitude we have, the kind of feelings that we have, and the kind of body positions and state and sensations and all of that, in order to be able to see the body and know it very well, in order to relax the body, so that you can become relaxed in the body, relaxed in your feelings, relaxed in your attitude, and relaxed in your thoughts. This is the practice. But you have to keep doing it over and over and over again because you've gotten such a bad habit of doing it the way that you've been doing it your whole life. And so it's very easy just to slip back into the old way. It takes some effort to climb up that hill, and that hill is a slippery slope, and you slide back down. What do? You get back up, and you get back up on that hill again, and then you slide off again. Then you get back up, and you get back up on the hill, and you slide off again. Pretty soon, you begin to get some skills so that you can get out of that mental state and get on top of your own world, to get on top of your feelings, learn to control your feelings, to feel that you way that you want to do it. You begin to control your own mind so that you have the attitude of the way that you want it, instead of having an attitude of being a victim, victim to the IRS, victim to the cops, victim to the government, victim to the teacher, victim to the guy down the street, victim to the guy in the car. We play the word victim. We started off our whole lives as a victim in early childhood. Every infant is a victim. Every infant has to be taken care of. It can't take care of itself. As the child grows up, mom changes from nurturing and taking care of into now being an authority. She tells a little kid what to do, where to go, what clothes to wear, pick up your toys, clean your room, learn your ABCs. And so the child remains a victim all the way up into adulthood. And so what we have to do is to change that attitude from being a victim to the world into being our own boss. This is exactly what happens. I mean, the reason that you're reading books is because you feel like a victim and you want to come out of that victimhood. You want to feel like that you're the boss of your life, and yet you feel like that you're not the boss. So you're looking for help. And one of the things that a good teacher will do, a good friend will do, is to help you to figure out that you're the champion. But you have to keep remembering that over and over again. The way of saying it is that you've talked yourself into feeling bad your whole life. Your thoughts, unwholesome language, you've been talking yourself into feeling bad your whole life. Now it's time to start talking yourself into feeling good. To start gladdening the mind. When you see that unwholesome thought, change it. Change your mind. Change your words. Change your thoughts. Change your attitude. Change your feelings. It's a change model. Change from being dissatisfied into being satisfied. Satisfaction is a feeling. You feel satisfied. And that's all the teaching of the Buddha is. If you felt satisfied moment by moment by moment on a regular basis, always satisfied, then, for instance, who needs enlightenment? You're already satisfied without it. Who needs nibbana? I'm satisfied without it. Those are just words that you've heard that you don't even know the meaning of. But basically what they do mean is that you're satisfied. That's the teaching of the Buddha, is to come out of our dissatisfaction into a state of satisfaction. That's really all there is to it. That's why it's easy. That's why I say you can say it in easy language, like, don't worry, be happy. Stop worrying. Stop farting around. Stop having questions. Stop being confused. Stop wanting to know the answers to things and just be happy. This is the teaching of the Buddha. Those three things: to remember, to look at what you're doing, to remember to wake up right here, right now, and look at what you're doing right here, right now, and then to make a change to it. Right noble effort to come out of the unwholesome thoughts into the wholesome thoughts. And one of the wholesome thoughts that you can have is everything is okay right now. Everything is fine, because in reality, everything is okay. A lot of people will sit in meditation in that hall in there, and they're actually physically safe. There's no snakes, no alligators, there's nothing there. And yet they feel unsafe. They feel like they're being watched. They feel like that they've got something to do. And we can change those feelings of being unsafe by talking ourselves into everything's okay right now. There's no reason to feel unsafe. There's no reason to feel afraid. I can feel just fine. When I feel safe and secure and the body is comfortable, I can then begin to feel satisfied. That's the real teaching. Safe, secure, comfortable, and satisfied. And by the way, these four things, safe, secure, comfortable, and satisfied, actually is the definition of the word sukha in the Pali. And sukha is just exactly opposite of the word dukkha. So when you're satisfied, you're not dissatisfied. And when you find dissatisfaction, you change it from dissatisfaction into satisfaction. That's all there is to it. It's a little change model. Easy peasy, nothing to it. But you have to do it 10,000 times, 100,000 times, over and over and over again, perhaps for your whole life. Every time that you see that you're dissatisfied, make a change so that you can come back into a state of satisfaction. It's a nice way to live, by the way. Being satisfied. That's all there is to it.
Okay,
Can you
so
do that? Can you do that? Can you start practicing being okay? Can you start practicing being satisfied? Can you practice everything is all right? No worries, nothing to be afraid of. Everything is hunky-dory.
so if you don't feel good, if you have negative thoughts or negative feelings,
Then
you
you talk yourself into not feeling good. Why don't you talk yourself into feeling good?
so then you just make stuff up until you feel good in your mind?
Well,
Like
if
you
you're going to
think-
make stuff up anyway, why don't you make up some wholesome, good, valuable things rather than making up a bunch of shit, which is what you're probably already doing for your whole life.
Right.
And once you get the ability to control what you're making up, then you can actually can stop making stuff up and just live in reality. But until then, you need to learn to control it.
It's a temporary phase.
Hmm?
It's a temporary phase until you no
Lifelong,
longer.
temporary.
Okay.
Because the first thing you do when you see you're dissatisfied is change it into being satisfied. Make that change. And then once you're satisfied, nothing matters anymore. And so you can just give it all up.
So when you have the right thoughts, do the emotions take care of themselves automatically, in your opinion? Or do you still have processes?
Let us say that there is a way of looking at it in the sense that once you get your thoughts in order, then that changes your attitude. And once you change your attitude, then you can begin to change your feelings. It's a skill development system.
Yeah.
You have to apply the mind and sustain it, and apply it again and sustain it, and apply the wholesome thoughts, apply the wholesome attitude, apply wholesome feelings. Apply wholesome feelings, and that will help you to relax. But you can also relax the body, and that when the body is relaxed, that will help you to control your feelings into a state of sukha.
So we can control our thoughts and then also intentions and feelings, or attitudes and feelings. But then I've heard this other perspective that everything's just arising and there's no self that's doing it all. We just notice it all happening.
If that's the thought, right, then that's a wholesome thought. But that's all it is just a wholesome thought. Why should I give a flying rip about that stuff? It's just all arising and passing away anyway. That's a wholesome thought. It's not a different perspective.
Right. So at one side of it, you're trying to you are having wholesome thoughts, wholesome attitudes, and therefore wholesome feelings.
Can develop that. if you get the skills of changing your thoughts, then you can develop the skills of changing your attitude and begin to change your feelings.
Right. So
Once you are able to change your feelings, then you can really begin to change your attitude in a major way.
Okay.
But you got to learn to feel good instead of being in doubt all the time. See, you keep asking me questions just like you have done, rather than saying, right, gotcha, I could just go feel good. No, you want to take all of this old crap that you've got and try to push it into what I'm telling you. Forget all of the old crap and just listen to what we're saying here.
Yes.
Forget all of that mumbo jumbo and all that magical thinking and all of that esoteric bullshit that they keep coming up with, because they're not happy when they talk about it. Can you actually change the way you feel? Can you actually change the thoughts that you're having? Can you actually change your attitude? Instead of subconsciously and ignorantly remain in a state of confusion like you are now. And come out of that feeling. Say, oh, I don't have to be confused. I can just be happy.
Okay.
I don't have to think about all of this, that, and the other thing that I've read in the book. I can just be happy. Forget all of that stuff. But just, oh, wow, I don't have to worry about any of that stuff. I can just be happy. That's why it's not good to read those books, especially books written by someone who has native English as their language and has never ordained as a monk, because that's part of the monk's training. The monk's training is to just stop worrying about stuff that doesn't belong to you. But they've never been trained as a monk, and so they bring all the worries or all their flurries and all their problems when they do the cut and paste job to make their book. And they haven't learned a darn thing from their book. The same thing happens with the Westerners who have studied Pali. They keep putting their own frame of reference on it, and they wind up having a great big translation that actually is not valuable to either them or anybody who reads their translation. So the right thing to do is to forget all of that stuff that you read and start reading only one book, the book between your ears. Start looking at, oh, I'm in doubt right now. Oh, I'm asking questions right now. Oh, I'm confused right now. And then you can say, oh, never mind that confusion. I can just let it melt away. I can just sit here and say, well, everything's okay. Forget all the stuff I don't know that I'm confused about. And just be okay. Just like reality. Reality's okay. It's already okay. Has always been okay. In fact, it's a paradise. It's like a Garden of Eden. It's heaven. It's a paradise. But you know that Adam and Eve were kicked out of paradise, right? You know any of that story of Adam and Eve? They were kicked out of paradise, right? Guess who did the kicking out? Was it some sky daddy up there with binoculars watching them? Or was it actually in the way that it's actually stated in the scripture? And that is that they ate of the fruit of knowledge of good and evil. They ate of the fruit of knowledge of good and evil. What does that mean? The fruit here is not an apple or a banana. The fruit is the result, like the fruit of the loom, the fruit of your loins, the fruit of your labor. But here it's the fruit of your attitude. So they ate of the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil. What is the knowledge of good and evil? Oh, that's good. Oh, that's evil. Oh, I know all about it. That's really good. Oh, I know that's bad. And by having goods and bads, they had to put up with the results of their good and bad, which meant that they destroyed their paradise. They didn't get kicked out of it. They destroyed the thing. They destroy reality, just like you and I destroy reality when we judge it. We go into a delusional state about it ought to be this way and it ought to be that way.
When you have wholesome thoughts, isn't that sort of a delusion if I'm just telling myself it's all okay, it's all fine? Isn't that
Actually, I would argue with you on the point that unwholesome thoughts are a whole lot more painful. Unwholesome thoughts are dukkha. Unwholesome thoughts are not real. And wholesome thoughts are much, much closer to reality. Because reality is okay. Why can't you just be okay? Why can't you have the attitude that you're just okay? Why can't you have the thoughts that you're just okay? You just is. That's how things are. That's the reality of the situation. Your unwholesome thoughts, however, want to change reality because you don't like it or you want something from it. So where's the delusion? Is the delusion in wholesome thoughts? I don't think so. Is the delusion in unwholesome thoughts? Gotcha. So that was a really stupid question that you asked. You've heard that saying about there are no stupid students, only stupid questions.
okay?
Well, that was a pretty stupid question that you asked.
Thank you.
Wholesome thoughts is that everything is the way that it is. It's good enough. It's real. So having wholesome thoughts is pretty good. Having unwholesome thoughts means is that, oh, I want something out of it, or oh, I don't like it. And we do that kind of stuff ignorantly. Can you wake up to that? Can you wake up to you're about to ask a stupid question and then not ask it? Change
well,
your
how do you
mind.
know?
Oh, that's a stupid question.
Well,
By
how do I know?
investigating, by looking, by recognizing that that's a stupid question, thinking that a wholesome thought is not real. A wholesome thought, in fact, is closer and closer to reality, and an unwholesome thought is further and further away from reality. Having wholesome thoughts is not delusional. And maybe you're making the mistake of some of the thoughts that I have, I think are wholesome, where in fact are downright unwholesome.
Okay.
But when you see those thoughts as not real, then you can see then they're also not wholesome. And so you can change. That's what this is all about, is making change. Can you change?
Yes. Yes, I
You
can.
can.
I can.
Yes, you can. You can change. But you have to wake up to look in this present moment to see what kind of thoughts you're having right now and then change them. To wake up and look and to see that you have anxiety in the body and then change that. Breathing in and breathing out long and saying, I'm okay and never mind about this anxiety, it will go away. And guess what? It'll go away. But if you have anxiety and you say, what's that all about? Wow, I've got to go do this and that in order to get rid of the anxiety. Now we're not in reality. And we're going to keep ourselves uptight and full of anxiety because we want to do something to get rid of it, rather than merely investigating it, playing with it, and letting it subside, because we're dealing with it wholesomely. And after all, anxiety is nothing but a sensation in the body. But most people, when they have an uptight, when they've got panic, when they're under stress, they think that the way to get out from under the stress is by going and fixing something on the outside. Go fix your boss. Go get a driver's license. Go do something on the outside so that they'll feel better on the inside. And that's delusional. The outside world is already okay. But we can change our attitude. We can change the way we feel. We can change our thoughts. That's what we can do. Nothing to it. All right, so you're going to practice this? You said you've been sitting for an hour a day. What are you going to do in that hour?
Go sleep instead.
Pardon?
Maybe have a nap instead.
Well, what you can do in that hour is start intentionally having wholesome thoughts. Instead of noting all of the crap that's there, note the crap and change it. That's the problem with the Mahasi method and all that noting is that nobody makes any changes. This is what that dark night of the soul is all about, is because they see that crap. They see it better and better, and they see what a pile of crap they've got in their mind, but they don't change it.
I will change it.
Yeah, so every time you see a little thought that's unwholesome, change that one, then change the next one, and then change the next one. And pretty soon, you don't even think that it's a big pile of crap. It's just one little piece of crap at a time. That's all there is to it.
Yeah.
And so what I would recommend for you is to take that hour that you're practicing and dividing it up during the day. Because if you practice for a full hour, the mind's going to get tired. The human extension span is at best about 20 minutes until it's trained. And so the way to train your attention span is by having short bursts of 5 or 10 minutes of just practicing wholesome thoughts. We keep coming back. Get out of that monkey mind. As soon as you see the mind wander away, you can drag it back again and says, okay, we're going to have wholesome thoughts now. Okay, we're going to have wholesome feelings. Okay, we're going to have wholesome attitude. And you practice that for about 10 minutes. But then in 10 minutes, you can do that 6 times a day, and there's your hour. So break up that hour into 10 different or 6 different 10-minute sessions, and you'll get a whole lot more results from it.
Will do.
All right. So, last point is that I'm not a teacher. I don't teach. I'm certainly not a meditation teacher. If anything, I'm a Dhamma teacher. But more than that, I'm a friend. And I'll be friends with you if you want to be friends with me.
I'd love to be friends with you.
All right. Well, I will then expect you to call your friend about once a week or so.
Okay.
So that we can keep renewing this over and over again. I also recommend that you get on our Skype groups and start Skyping. We also have a Dhamma Friends group on Discord. And we have a website. You said you watched the videos, so look at one of the most recent videos and look at the description, and it'll have all of that stuff in there.
The Open Sangha Foundation?
Yes, the Open Sangha Foundation. It's getting pretty close to launch.
Awesome.
It's getting just about complete.
Exciting.
So go ahead and register. Add a picture. Fill out all the stuff, become part of the club. Then you can message other people. You can email them. You can get in touch with them. We have forums. We have posts. We have polls. We've got a huge amount of stuff. And also you can make contact with people through Skype, just like you're on Skype with me now. We have 2 main Skype groups. The reason we have 2 is because Skype requires 100 people. And I keep having to pull old people off so new people can join, but that's their limit, 100.
Yeah.
So join the Skype groups. You can do that by clicking right there on the items in the description of the YouTube videos.
I'm part of the 2 Skype groups.
All right. So we'll see you next week.
Yeah, I'll see you tomorrow during the group session.
Pardon?
I'll see you tomorrow during the group session.
Okay. Yeah, there's one at 9 o'clock Thai time, which would be 10, 11, noon, about noon your time in Sydney.
Yep, that's right.
All right, Dylan. Well, I'm glad to meet you.
Glad to meet you as well.
I'm glad to see that you survived a hot little moment with you.
Oh, well, all is good. All is welcome. All is okay.
All right. Well, we'll see you later then.
Catch you later. Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right. So bye-bye.
Bye.